Welcome to Real Time Review. I'm your host, Jesse Nussman. With me again, fellow Atlanta film critic Jason Evans.
Hey, buddy.
We're back.
It's been a while.
Season 2. We haven't gotten canceled. New
Exactly.
year, new flicks. Unfortunately for our audience, we don't have a very good flick to talk about today.
Well, look, the beginning of the year is the time when most people are catching up on Oscar contenders. The other films that are released are just, not that interesting. But you and I, we already saw the Oscar contenders back in November and December, and so we have been in a barren wasteland of bad films for about 6 weeks now.
Yes, so you and I have lucked out in that we are not doing a whole episode on Argylle, which may be one of the more insufferable things I've had to sit through in a long time. But we are going to talk about Lisa Frankenstein, which is this new kind of horror teen comedy written by Diablo Cody, and is sort of a fun 80s update on Mary Shelley's classic Frankenstein, where you have this kind of goth emo girl who is not fitting in well in school,
Right.
not even fitting well with her family, and there's a lightning storm, and eventually a hunky corpse played by Cole Sprouse from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody enters her life, and she's got a new undead boyfriend. So, as someone who also had an undead boyfriend when they were younger, what did you think of this?
This is a film where I laughed a number of times during the movie. I appreciated a lot of what you mentioned. Diablo Cody is the screenwriter. She's a brilliant screenwriter.
She's really good at capturing kind of like a crackling kind of teen dialogue. I mean, she also wrote Juno and Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, I mean, Juno, Academy Award winning. So Diablo Cody knows how to write these kind of characters and knows how to draw us in a little bit to them. That said, the film has real pacing. It's not a long film, but it still has real pacing issues. There were a number of times where I was just like, can we get on with it a little bit? And I actually think, I thought it was really well written. The more I reflect on it, it doesn't develop enough of the characters, doesn't develop enough of their relationship. You said, she's got this Frankenstein that is her boyfriend. Their relationship, to be honest, is not all that well developed, or nor do I understand it. Her character transforms. Catherine Newton plays Lisa. Her character transforms throughout the movie, and I'm still not sure why. It just sort of happens because the story needs it to happen. It's okay. The other thing that's really confusing to me about this film is I'm not quite sure who it's for. There's a pretty good bit of 80s nostalgia kind of stuff.
Sure, and I can see this as like targeted towards a kind of young teenage girl audience.
Well, but wait a second. So then why are you setting it 80s nostalgia? Like that part
Fair,
does,
yeah.
Right, that's my generation. Like I came into this movie excited for like the music and the other stuff that was going to take, the big hair, the shoulder pads and the such that are a hallmark of growing up in the 1980s. Well, a current teen isn't really going to relate to that stuff. So I think that's just indicative of how this film, it doesn't really know exactly what it wants to be, and as a result, it's kind of meh. It's not bad, it's just very meh.
I kind of wish it went a little bit further into sort of cartoonishness. I remarked to you afterwards that there is one particular director, and I cannot believe I'm about to say this because I generally do not like this person's movies, but I kind of wish Tim Burton had made this. Like, I thought a lot about...
He would have leaned into it for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought a lot about Beetlejuice. I thought a lot about Edward Scissorhands. Even, I know he didn't do Heathers, but that's another movie I thought of. And that kind of morbid, but also kind of cartoonish humor, I feel like this movie needed to go further into that. And to that point, like, I feel like some of the flatness with the characters would have been a little bit more excusable. And I feel like it just would have generally been funnier. Like the Cole Sprouse corpse character reminds me a lot of Johnny Depp and Edward Scissorhands.
Of course.
Catherine Newton's character reminded me a lot of Winona Ryder in Heathers and Beetlejuice, and I almost wish
but
that
both of them are not nearly as compelling as those performances.
And I feel like the performances need to be like almost a little bit more over the top. Like thinking about Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice, like she's really leaning into like the cartoonish gothness of that character, and I just wanted like that much more style, like the Spinal Tap nod of like, let's crank this up to 11, and then maybe we can have kind of like a fun, kitschy, morbid teen comedy. But I just sort of found this thing kind of like a little flat. I didn't think like Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse really had any chemistry together. So the interactions were very awkward.
It's very strange because look, I understand Frankenstein doesn't really have much he can say. Over the course of Mary Shelley's book and the movies and the such, he sort of learns a couple words here and there. Cole Sprouse literally grunts the
Just goes
entire,
like,
grunts
time.
the entire movie, and it takes a really magnetic performance for us to connect with a character who's doing nothing but grunting. And the reality is, Cole Sprouse doesn't have it in him. I also think the direction, I thought this film was really weirdly directed. I blanked on her name now, but it's Robin Williams' daughter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, something, I want to say Zelda Williams, I believe,
Yeah,
maybe
that sounds
her name.
right.
Yes, is the director of this film. It's her first major film project. She's done some short films. And I love Robin Williams, and I hope that Zelda Williams has a robust career as a director. That's where she decides to go. But I think this film needed a surer hand as director who could patch up some of the places where the script maybe isn't there, who could have punched up the actors a little bit more. Then it could have gotten there because it has some good moments in the script.
Yeah.
I was laughing out loud.
I think it makes sense that it's a first time feature
Yeah, it
directing
really does.
because it really feels like a movie where you can tell that this is someone who has kind of like a lot of little stylistic flourishes and stuff that they've picked up on and want to put on screen, but maybe they don't totally have like the mastery of tone for like a script that's this unusual and weird. Even getting to kind of what we mentioned about Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse not really having chemistry, it made me remember we got this really awkward like opening to the movie where basically like they came on screens before and did one of those like thanks for just coming out.
Yeah.
And you could tell like right then and there like, oh, these are two people that you know are fine actors on their own but have like zero kind of electric chemistry, even just doing like a promotional thing. And so now thinking back, that's kind of like a bad omen for the movie we were going to watch.
Well, the funny thing was they did their little spiel on camera, and I remarked to a couple of folks, to you and the other folks sitting around me, I'm like, that was their first take because it felt so flat. It felt like they were reading it right off the prompter. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm sure they'll do better in the movie. I'm not sure they did much better in the movie than that.
Right. Well, let's move on to something a little bit more exciting for
Yes,
our audience, which is
considerably.
talking about the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. I really wish we could have someone here who could explain kind of this festival. Oh, wait, yeah, that's you. So do you want to talk about, just give our
Sure.
audience an idea of like, because you're very involved in this festival, you're on the selection committee. Tell us about kind of what people can expect. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, film festival in the state of Georgia.
It is far and away, in terms of tickets sold, far and away the biggest film festival in the state of Georgia. I brought the handbook just to show you how large and extensive it is. Close to 80 films will be shown in the festival. You know, it's sort of weird. I almost wish it wasn't called the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival because people go, oh, it's just for Jewish audiences. It is not at all. The films that are in this festival have to have some kind of connection to Judaism or Israel, but they are fascinating, really interesting films, movies that you would otherwise not get a chance to see here in Atlanta for sure. It's been around for close to 25 years. We're in year 24 now. I'm on the board of directors. As you said, I'm on the film selection committee. I was co-chair of the film selection committee for 6 years. We'll get 700, 800 films that will submit and ask to be in this festival because it's so big and so successful, and we only pick the top 10%. So when you're when you're starting with that much,
Right.
and you're only picking the top 10%, every single movie in the festival is really great.
So what are some of your favorites this year? Like people are kind of looking at the
Yeah.
lineup of films and trying to figure out like, okay, which, because it can be a little overwhelming. You know, I've been to several film festivals.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been to several, and you see like kind of like the long list of titles and you're kind of like, oh gosh, where do I even start? So what are some recommendations of some of the stuff you've seen?
Well, the very first thing I would start with is I would say there's a documentary about Gene Wilder that is one of the best documentaries we've ever had at the festival.
Wow.
It is that good. It's just an absolute crowd pleaser. Gene Wilder, of course, is one of the comedic geniuses that we've had in the film industry over the past 20, 30 years. And this film just captures his character, captures his story so well. Folks who don't remember really well, he was very connected to Richard Pryor. They made several movies together during the 1970s and 80s. Some of the great comedies of that era. And one of the unique things about the film festival is the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival is that we bring in lots of directors, actors, people connected to the films to come talk about them so that after the movie's over, you know, one of the things that's great about the movies is when a film finishes, you talk to your friends, you talk to other people
Right.
who've seen it about what you liked, what you didn't like, what it meant to you. Well, at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival, you do that, but you're talking to the director of the film or someone who's really connected to it. So, for example, on Remembering Gene Wilder, we've got the two directors of the film, and Rain Pryor, Richard Pryor's daughter, is coming to town, and she's going to talk about what her father's relationship was with Gene Wilder. So that's one. God, we've got so many. Literally, I could talk about 20 or 30 of them. Another great example, another great one is there's a film called The Monkey House, which is about a Israeli writer who is sort of not very successful, and he devises this crazy scheme to become famous so he can win the hand of his childhood sweetheart. And it's directed by one of the best directors that Israel's ever had. It was nominated for 10 Israeli Academy Awards. I want you to think about that, a movie nominated for 10 Academy Awards. Why are you not seeing that movie? That's a heck of a movie.
Yeah.
And the director, Avi Nesher, is going to be here in Atlanta talking about that film. We've got another film that we're showing called Supernova, which is a documentary about the attack that happened on October 7th at that music festival where several hundred young Israelis were killed by Hamas. It has caused the entire world to go into upheaval. And this documentary about it was taken from all the cell phone footage and security camera and stuff like that of the Supernova Music Festival. This is the U.S. premiere. No one in the U.S. will have seen this film before we show it at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. So, my goodness, if you're someone who is paying any attention to the news, how could you not want to come out and see a movie like that? You'll be the first person in the entire country to get a chance to see it.
So where can people kind of find out more information if they're a little bit curious to just see like kind of the larger program that you guys have this year?
Yeah, the best place to go is to ajff.org, ajff.org, the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. And if you click on the annual festival, you'll get a list of all the movies. It's probably easiest if you sort of go, you know what, I want to see a documentary, I want to see a biography, I want to see a film about the Holocaust, I want to see a film about France or something like that. You can pick all the different categories and it'll narrow it for you very quickly. There are trailers there. There are really, really nice, like sort of paragraph long descriptions of each film. And they're really, like I said, we had so many movies to pick from. There isn't a bad choice out there.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who goes to film festivals a lot, part of the fun is just sort of like looking at the calendar and just sort of randomly picking something and walking in and having zero expectations about what you're seeing. And, sometimes we've all had the experience of like, it's maybe not what you hope, but it's really, really exciting when you just walk into something that you have no preconceived notions about the movie that you're seeing, and you end up seeing something that like really transports you or really moves you in a way. That's to me kind of like the great fun of going to film festivals.
Yeah, look, I'm a film critic. I see 200, 300 movies a year, and every year there's something at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival that I say was one of the best movies, one of the most interesting films that I saw during that year. So yeah, it's a can't miss.
Well, Jason, thank you again for dropping by this week. We will have hopefully more movies, hopefully some better movies to talk about in the future. I mean, Dune 2 is around the corner.
Very excited for
maybe,
Dune 2.
I'm going to see if we can get some sand in here and maybe
How about some worms, man?
Yeah. We'll actually get the little buckets of popcorn that you saw in the Saturday Night Live sketch.
Those are crazy.
Yes.